Okay, we're going to make a video really quickly about making a very simple website, putting an image on the screen, putting some text over the top of that image or in front of that image, and then making that all clickable so it's like a link to a different page or something like that. So this is going to be pretty simple. We're going to do this in Phoenix Code, right? So I'm going to open Phoenix Code now. It's the same as brackets, right? It's the newer version of brackets. So this one's called Phoenix Code. So I just open it up. Gives me an error, I'm not going to worry about that. And it opens me up into the default location, right? So you'll notice up here in the top left-hand corner, it says default location. Now that default location is actually on your hard drive. I've got my hard drive here in your documents folder, in a folder there called Phoenix Code, right? And it says default project, and everything that you see here is everything that you'll see here, right? So that's where it's actually stored. It's stored in your documents in a folder called Phoenix Code. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a full HTML page from scratch just to show you how it all works. So I'm going to start off going File, New File. Now it comes up over here. Now I could just start typing straight away, but if I save it as HTML, it'll help me with some of the starting things and some of the tags, the beginnings and the ends and those sort of things. It'll help. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to say Save As. And I'm going to name this file, and I'm going to call it image.html. Now you can call it whatever you want, right? I'm going to call it image.html, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, and so I've got my file starting here. Now also, I've got a couple of images already saved, right? I've got one here called Milan Skyline and Paris Skyline. So if I go to that folder in my documents, in my Phoenix Code, and just in there, just in that default project, and I grab Milan Skyline and I grab Paris Skyline, I put them in there. I've now put the two images, and I can just press space on them just to show you what they are. There's the Milan Skyline, there's the Paris Skyline. I've already got two images there that'll help me out. And what you'll notice also on those images are there's no text on them, right? So that's just a picture of the skyline, that's just a picture of Paris, right? So we'll get to them in just a minute. Now, let's start our HTML document. So I've called it image.html, and I'm going to start typing on it straight away. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to say doc-type, right? Because you always need to do this when you're making HTML. Or in fact, I should have put in an exclamation at the start, doc-type, and we're going to put it as HTML. Close that. Right, now, for all HTML files, you need to start with, obviously, HTML. HTML, close my brackets, and you'll see it gives me the closing tag to go with that. Now, in this, I might also put in here lang equals en. Right, so that's going to say the language that I'm doing my website in is English. Okay, now let's do some other tags. In fact, let's get a few tags done at the same time. Head, inside the head, I'm going to want to have a title. Okay, I'm going to want to have in here some style. Also in the head is my style. It's going to be in there. Right, then outside of the head, down further, I'm going to want to have the body. Okay, and then we can move that up to there and that back to there. So there's the basic structure of the way that my website's going to be. Now let's put this in. This calls image link. I'll call it a link because we're going to make the image actually link to something else. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, before I get on put any style in and make things work and that, I just want to basically put an image on the screen. Now, you could just go img src, which is image, and then you're going to get a source, and that'll put an image on the screen. But we want to make this image so you can click on it, and we want to put text in front of the image, right? So we're not going to just put an image in like that. We're going to start with what's called an anchor, right? So I just do a, the lowercase a, and then the tag closes as the lowercase tag closes there. And now I want that actual anchor to be a link to somewhere else, an href. So I'm going to put in href here, which is a hyperlink reference, which means it links to another website. And the website I'm going to put in will be my IB Computer Science. Why not? Let's do that. So let's put IB computer science.it. So that's the website where I have all the stuff for the students, right? So ibcomputerscience.it, and it's all there and it looks good. ibcomputerscience.it, that's good. So that's my hyperlink reference. Now I'm also going to put in here what's called a class, and I'm going to make this class equal to what's called image-link. All right, now that class tells the HTML page that it's got a special type of style, and I'm going to put some more style in here later. In fact, I could even put right now, because I know I'm going to use that class, I could put in here .image-link, and I could do the two curly brackets, curly brackets. So I now know this anchor here, it's going to have some style. I've used the word class to say this is going to be the type of style that I use. I'm adding that piece of style up there, and the full stop at the start is because I'm using a class. And then later I'll put some styling in here for this image, for this link. I'll have it looking a certain way, right? We won't get to it yet. I want to make the link first. Okay, so I've got that. I've got the link part of it, and that was inside the first part of the anchor section. Now, I do want to have an image in there, so I'm going to go img image src, which is the source, and I put inverted commas, and I'm going to put in one of my images. Now, here's the beauty of this. Because I copied those two images, Milan Skyline and Paris Skyline, into the folder, they come up here because the files are next to each other. So I'm going to choose Milan Skyline as my image, and if the image doesn't load, I'm going to have some alternate text, and the text can say picture. All right, so that says if the image doesn't load, the word picture will come up. So that's my image. Okay, so that's the first part that I wanted to do. Now, I also want to have, let's see, I want to have the text that goes in front. So to do the text in front, I'm going to create what's called a div, like a division on the page, where I can put something in this division it's like layers, where you can have the back layer and then you can have a front layer in front of that. You could even have another one in front of that. They're called a div, where you divide the page up into different layers. So in this div, I'm going to have the word Milan. Now, I don't just want a simple little black text that say Milan. I want that to have some style as well. So I better give that a class too. So in here, I might put in class equals, and I'm going to give this one some style. This one, I'm going to call this one image text. Okay, so that's going to have a style as well. So that means up here in my style sheets, I need to go, okay, full stop, image dash text, curly brackets, return that curly bracket down. So now I've got this one great looking little anchor here that links to my website that's going to have this type of style. Then I've got inside of that an image of the word of Milan. It shows me a preview of it, and it's going to have the word Milan over the top of it, and then my anchor finishes. I've closed that sort of section of the website, and all of that is on the body of my page. Okay, so that's what's going to be at the start. Now, I haven't put any style in here at all, and I'll get to that in just a second. Let's have a quick preview and see what that looks like right now. I'm going to hit Command S, which saves my file. I'm going to click the preview button, and this is what my page looks like. A huge big picture of Milan with the word Milan underneath it, and look at the hand, the mouse has changed. They're both a link, but that is nothing like what I want it to look like. So I really need to make this image smaller. I need to make this writing much bigger. I want the writing on top of the picture. So we're going to have to make some styling changes. So let's go ahead and do that. Now there's one more section of style that I'm going to do, so that I've got maybe 3 main sections of style. And one of those I'm going to do is the body, the main page of the... So we've got body here as one of the tags. What do I want the whole page to look like? So I'm going to put that in as well as a style section. And in fact, I'm going to do the body section first before we start styling the other stuff, right? So the first thing I want the body to do is I don't want any margins around the page. I just want the page to be as it is, right? So let's go margin colon 0 semicolon. So I've got no margin on my page, right? That's the first thing. I don't want any margins. Second thing, I want the visual height, so the height of my page, to match up with the window size. So if you've got a computer with a massive big screen, I want my website to take up that screen. Whereas if I've got a tiny little screen, I want the website to take up the tiny little screen, right? So I'm going to put in here a height, and I'm going to make the height 100 VH. Now VH, I never normally use VH, but I'm learning a few new things myself, and I've decided that VH is the way I'm going to do it. This is the visual height. That's what VH stands for. So it's going to be the visual height of my web page. Now, like I said, if I've got a big screen or a small screen, I want the website to change to suit that screen. So I want the display to be flexible. So that's the next line I put in. I want the display to be flexible. That's pretty important to me. Okay, next thing I want is I want everything on the page to be centered. I don't want things off to the left-hand side. I don't want things off to the right-hand side. So I'm going to say justify content. That's everything that's going to be on the page. Justify the content to the center of the page. Now, there's another way we can do this as well, right? And we could do text align, and we could align all the text to the center of the page. But justify content works the same way. Or you could do align contents, or in fact, not even align contents. Let's go align items. Let's align all of the items and let's put them in the center, right? So this is where Phoenix Code helps you, because it brings you up the different options. So I'm going to say align items in the center. So everything's going to be centered, and that's going to be good. Now, let's put a background color in as well. I don't want a boring white page. Let's do a background color, and let's use a light gray. Now, I know that a light grey would be F0, F0, F0. Remembering these are RGB colours. The first two is the R, the second two is the G, and the last two is the B, right? The blue. So the red, green, blue breakdown. So if I do that, that'll give me a light grey colour. Now, one of the good things also about Phoenix Code is it gives you a preview over here of what the colour actually is. So if you run your mouse on it, that's the light grey colour that I want my web page to be. So I've done a little bit of styling there. Now, if I save that again, let's go to our preview. It doesn't look much different over here. It still looks massive, except you'll notice the background here is grey. Okay, so we're starting to see a little change there in the style. Right, so the next one, this image link, all right, which is going to be the actual hyperlink section in here. This anchor, essentially, this anchor section. Now, I want the anchor section to be have a relationship with the image that's inside of it. So it's got to be relative. The position is going to be relative on the page, but it's also going to be relative to the position itself. And what we do is we actually say position relative. Now, essentially what that means is if the page resizes, the image will move to the right section of the page. It has a relationship between the width and the height of the page. It has a relationship to the image of where it's placed on the page. It's not like if I fix it in the top right corner, no matter what I do to the web page, it's always fixed in the top right corner. It's not like that. This will move according to the size and the position of the screen, all right? So that's position relative. The next one is I want all of these images to be in line with each other. So like a you know, at the top of a page, sometimes you get like all the drop-down menus, they all line up at the top of the page, and then you can click them and different menus drop down, but they all align at the top of the page. So what we do here is we say display, we say inline block. So we want them as one block that always lines up together. And you'll see that in a minute when I show you why I've got two pictures. That'll explain that a bit more. Now, do I want any text decoration? Do I want anything special? Do I want, and this one's pretty important, text decoration. Do I want any underlines for links. Do I want the links to be bright blue and then when you click on them they go red? Do I want any of that sort of stuff on this link? Absolutely not. I don't want to see any of that because I don't want the image to have like a blue box around it or a red click when you click on it. I'm taking all of that text decoration off, so I'm going to say it's to none. Now I'm also going to put a very, very small margin around this box so that if you click just say on the border of the box that you'll still be okay. But I also want there to be a little bit of space between this image and if I add a second image, there'll be a little bit of space between them. So I'm going to put a bit of a margin, right? So let's just do that. I'll explain this a little bit more once I put the second image on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now, what else do we want to do? Let's get this image text section down here, the writing that's going to be on the screen. So we want the position to be exactly where we put it. Different to this one, we're saying the position can move around the screen. The image will move a little bit if you resize the screen. This text, I want it exactly where I put it. And because this text here, this div, is inside this anchor, so I want that text at exactly the right position inside the anchor. So what I do here is, this one, I say the position has to be absolute, right? You cannot change it. Once I put it in position, that's exactly where it needs to be. Now, what I want to do is I want to come down from the top part of the thing, the top part of the box that this text is going to be in, and I want to come down 50%. So I'm coming halfway down from the top. I also want to come in from the left-hand side, 50%. So that'll put my text exactly in the middle of the box. However, it doesn't always work that way perfectly because the text, if you had like this word, pretend we've got this word relative, the text lines up from the top left-hand corner. It finds that as the top left-hand, that little position, the top left-hand corner. So if I'm saying come down 50%, move across 50%, that top little left-hand corner will be exactly in the middle of my image. But I don't want that. I want the writing to be exactly in the middle of my image. So in fact, in the middle of the A is about where I'd like it to be centered from. So this will get the text itself into the right position, but I need to add one more line, which is going to be transform. See if I can find it in here. Transform, translate is what I want. Here we go. Transform, translate. I want this one here, transform, translate, and I want you to be in the exact middle of the writing, not just the middle of the box. So I'm going to say minus 50%, and then I'll go comma minus 50%, and that'll put the writing exactly in the middle. So these two lines here put it in the middle of this anchor box that we've made, and then this line here puts the text in the middle of that anchor box, I suppose. That's the way that it translates. I want the writing to be white because I've got a coloured background picture, so I want the writing to be white, and I want the font size to be pretty big. So let's go 64 pixels. Yep, that's our font size. Then I want to have bold. I want my font to be bold, so let's go font weight. And you could put a number in here if you wanted. I'm just going to use the word bold. And let's put in a drop shadow behind the text. So because it's white writing on a picture image, it'll be white and it should stand out enough. But in case there's something white in the background, like the sun or the shining off a building or something like that, we'll put a little bit of a drop shadow in. So we're going to put in a text shadow, and we'll put it in at maybe 2 pixels to the right. Let's go 2 pixels down, and let's make it 5 pixels in size, and let's make the shadow black. All right, so, and you'll see over here, little black dot shows that that's the color I've used. You can see up here for the screen, there's the gray dot for my background. So that's it for the text. That's about what I want to have for the text. Now, I think that's everything I need. Let's have a quick look here. Let's go to preview. Ah, yes, there's one more thing. Okay, so here's my writing. You can see here it's great. White writing with a little black drop shadow running behind it. Here's my image, here's my background, so it kind of looks right, except I want that text in the middle on top of this picture, and I want this picture to be much smaller, so I haven't actually put any style into this picture yet. So what I want to do is I actually want to go into this anchor here, which is class the image link, but I want to address the image inside the image link. So what I do is I can put another little bit of style in here, and I could say dot image link, and then I can put img to say inside the image link I want to style the image, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Put some more style in here, and let's edit this. Let's make the width of my image maximum of 400 pixels. Let's do that, say, for example. Right, then I want to do the height. Now, I don't want the image to be distorted, so I don't want to stretch the image or make it look funny. So let's just do auto, whatever the image is, that'll be the automatic height, so it's not distorted. And I want this as part of the block, right? So before I said to you I want it to be in a block, let's do it as part of the block, and then let's hit Command S to save it. Now I'm just checking here. Here's the start of my anchor. Inside that anchor I've got a link to a website. I've got a class which tells me what style it is. I've put an image in there, and I've put some text in there in a div, and that should all line up on top of each other. It should be correct now if I preview. So let's save, let's preview. Now look, right, here's my grey background. I've got the right size image. I've got the word Milan in on top of it. If you look at my mouse, as my mouse rolls over it, it changes to a finger. And I'm sure if I click that, it would take me to IB Computer Science, right? So the link is actually working. Let's go back. Let's just turn that off and go back and preview it again. What happens if I click down in this bottom corner here, not on the word Milan? Let's click down here. It still works, right? Let's try again. Let's click right on the word Milan. Bang, it works. So now I've created a link with an image with styling. Now, one more thing that I wanted to add. I put in a margin here of 5 pixels here. I put a little margin in on the x-axis. So this is y and x-axis. So if I have a look at it here, you can't see any margins anywhere there. That doesn't seem to work. But what I've decided to do is, what happens if I wanted 2 buttons? So I'm going to copy this exactly as it is. I'm just going to Command C to copy it. I'm going to go here, Command V to paste it. And the only difference here is I'm going to use a different image. So I'm going to delete that one, and I'm going to put P. And you can see because I've got that Paris skyline in there, I'm going to have the word Paris skyline. So instead of having the Milan skyline, now I've got the Paris skyline. Now if I'm going to do that, I need to change the word Milan to Paris. And I can hit save. Now let's have a look at our website. 2 buttons. This one here goes to Milan. There's my 5 pixel padding in the middle so that they're not touching each other. And then there's the second one over here. So I can click on that. It'll take me to one website. And then if you wanted to, you just change the link, right? So you could have this one going to one website. You could have this one going to a different website. I've got them going to the same one just for the purpose of this video. If I click Paris, it could take me to bang, it works. So I know my links are working. And you could do 5 or 6 of these. You could do 10 of these, do as many as you like, right? This is the way we do an image on the screen with a hyperlink with text in front of it that links to a website, that jumps to a website. That's it. That's the end of the video. I hope this has helped you out for what you needed.